Hello, everyone. Welcome to Untold History, the channel where we discover the battles that changed the course of history. Today we explore the Battle of Manzikert, which took place on August 26, 1071, and was a crucial turning point for the Byzantine Empire. In this battle, Byzantine forces, led by Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes, were defeated by the Seljuk Turks under the command of Sultan Alp Arslan, which opened the doors to Turkish expansion in Asia Minor. By the end of the 11th century, the Byzantine Empire was facing a series of internal and external crises that threatened its existence. While the west of the empire was relatively secure, the eastern borders were a hotbed of conflict. The Sultanate of the Seljuk Turks had been on the rise, gaining ground at the expense of the Byzantine regions. Not only were the Turks fearsome warriors, but they had also developed innovative warfare tactics, using mobility and knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. In response to these incursions, Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes decided to take drastic measures and launched a military campaign to recapture the region and reassert Byzantine control over Asia Minor. Tensions between the Byzantines and Turks escalated when several Byzantine nobles, including those from the border regions, began to lose territory to the Seleucids. This territorial loss led to a crisis of confidence in imperial authority, resulting in distrust between the generals and soldiers. Many of the military leaders were mostly aristocrats who were unwilling to follow an emperor they considered a usurper, especially since Romanos IV had ascended the throne in controversial circumstances following a coup d'état. The decisive battle was fought near the town of Manzikert in present-day eastern Turkey. The Byzantine emperor assembled an army composed of approximately 50,000 soldiers, which included both elite soldiers and militia forces. Despite this large number, the Byzantine army faced significant problems. The troops were unmotivated, there were internal rivalries, and the generals did not fully trust the leadership of Romanos IV. As troops marched onto the battlefield, morale was low, and there was a widespread feeling that the campaign could be a dangerous and risky adventure. In contrast, the Turkish army, led by Sultan Alp Arslan, was numerically inferior, but much more cohesive and experienced. Alp Arslan, a charismatic leader and skilled strategist, had rallied his forces with a tactical approach. The Turks used guerrilla tactics, taking advantage of the mobility of their light cavalry and their ability to maneuver in mountainous terrain. This allowed them to carry out quick and effective attacks against the Byzantine troops, who were heavier and less agile. Alp Arslan's planning was key. Not only did he choose the terrain in his favor, but he also urged his men to take a decisive and aggressive approach. The battle began with a head-on engagement, but quickly turned chaotic. The Byzantine forces, unable to adapt to the Turks' quick tactics, began to crumble. One of the defining moments was the betrayal of Andronicus Doukas, a Byzantine general who rebelled against the emperor, unleashing a part of the Byzantine army on the battlefield. This betrayal not only weakened the cohesion of the Byzantine forces, but also left Romanos IV vulnerable. As the fighting progressed, the Byzantine forces found themselves surrounded and outmatched, leading to a crushing defeat. The capture of Romanos IV Diogenes by Alp Arslan was an event that would turn the tide of the conflict. Instead of executing the defeated emperor, he chose to treat him with respect, which was unusual for the time. This act not only demonstrated the Sultan's greatness, but also sought to ensure a temporary peace between empires. However, the defeat at Manzikert had devastating consequences for the Byzantine Empire. By signing a treaty ceding important territories to the Turks, the emperor further weakened the empire's position in the region. The immediate impact was the fragmentation of the empire. Without strong leadership, border regions began to fall into Turkish hands, and strategic cities, such as Nicaea and Ephesus, began to be rapidly lost. A lack of resources and Romanos IV's inability to recruit new troops led to a collapse in the Byzantine defense. In the long run, the victory of Alp Arslan not only meant the loss of territories to the Byzantines, but also cemented the position of the Turks in Asia Minor. With the Byzantine defeat, the Turks felt empowered, which led to further territorial expansion and the eventual arrival of other Turkish groups that transformed the cultural and political makeup of the region. Manzikert became a symbol of the arrival of Islam in lands that had been Christian. Moreover, this battle had profound implications for Christian-Muslim relations. The Byzantine defeat generated a sense of vulnerability in the Christian world, leading to the search for alliances with other Christian kingdoms. This culminated in the First Crusade, called in 1095 by Pope Urban II, who saw the situation as an opportunity not only to regain the Holy Land, but also to restore Byzantine power. The crusade was largely a response to Byzantine weakness after Manzikert and an attempt to unite Christendom against a common threat. This event is remembered not only as a military milestone, but as a symbol of change and transformation in medieval history. It represents the decline of an empire that had been one of the most powerful in the world and the emergence of new powers that reconfigured the political and cultural map of the time. As the Turks settled in Asia Minor, they also began to influence the local culture. Turkish architecture, language, and traditions began to integrate with those of Christian peoples, resulting in a rich cultural mix. This merger would be the basis for the rise of the Ottoman Empire in the centuries that followed, which would become one of the greatest powers in the world. At this event, the importance of logistics and preparation in medieval warfare was also highlighted. This would become a fundamental pillar for future military leaders who would understand that the war was not won only with bravery in the field, but also with adequate strategic planning. The battle was influenced not only by tactics, but also by the nature of the armies involved. The Byzantines, accustomed to siege warfare and fighting on more controlled terrain, found themselves at a disadvantage in an environment where the Turks were adept at quick maneuvers and ambushes. This clash of military cultures was significant and highlighted how adaptability in war can make the difference between victory and defeat. Finally, the Battle of Manzikert stands as a reminder of the vulnerability of empires. The defeat of a giant like the Byzantine Empire to a force considered smaller in numbers prompted a reassessment of the notion of imperial invulnerability. Thank you for joining us in this analysis of the Battle of Manzikert, an event that accelerated the decline of the Byzantine Empire and upset the balance of power in the Eastern Mediterranean. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell for more surprising stories here in Untold Story. Until next time.